Welcome back, everyone, to Game Reviews with Ludus Infinium. Now for the second game review that I've done in a long time, and the game review for Mass Effect 2. Let's get into it. For the combat, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I did enjoy the combat a little bit more than Mass Effect 1, especially with the addition of an ammo requirement. It makes me feel like I've got to be a little bit more tactical. Something that could be argued to be good or bad is that collects ammo for all held weapons except for heavy weapons. It could be good because you don't have to worry about running out of ammo if you don't use a particular gun as much. Could be bad because you don't pick up weapon for specific ammo, thus making the game a little bit more tactical, but meh. This makes it a little bit easier to play a similar playstyle regardless of class, especially after you reach a certain story mission and can unlock any other weapon normally not used by your class. For instance, playing a Sentinel, you could unlock assault rifles, you could unlock sniper rifles, and you could unlock shotguns. So you are limited a little bit in combat, but after a certain point, not really. That said, the change in abilities and their strength make it to where each class is unique in how they approach combat, or at least more so than Mass Effect 1. Again, my playthrough I'm going through as a Vanguard, very different experience from Mass Effect 1. So, it's something that, with the weapons now feeling more of the same, or at least you can have a similar playstyle based on which weapons you use. You can definitely change up your playstyle based on your abilities. For the story, I gave it a 6.5, and even I feel like I'm being a little bit generous at this point with this one. I feel like the story was just a sharp downgrade from the first Mass Effect, though still barely above average. This is supposed to be the first major pushback against an overwhelming force, and it just really doesn't feel that way to me. It's also supposed to feel like the Collectors are a massive threat against humanity, and Shepard and company just smash those bugs basically in one go. They do capture planets at a time, well, one in a fraction during the game, but they don't feel like a good representation of the boogeymen they're supposed to be. And they're being controlled by the Reapers, and you would think that, especially being controlled by the Reapers, being augmented the way they have, they would be much more of a threat. They just don't feel that way. And yes, you can turn up the game difficulty and make them that much of a threat, but even still, that doesn't change the story aspect of you just go to their home world, home station, and blow it the fuck up. So, for dialogue, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. This was one where I was a bit conflicted, because it feels very similar to Mass Effect 1, where the dialogue does feel forced again at times. It just feels kind of lazy, and the animations just don't quite match up, but that's something that plagues the entire Mass Effect series, so I'm going to try not to hold that against them. But I will say one thing that is improved upon from Mass Effect 1 is the romance dialogues. Easily one of the best selections of dialogue is the romance dialogue with Tali. They give her a lot more character. They give her a lot. You can feel the emotion in the dialogue, and that's something that I do think is nice. And that's true in most of the romance dialogues. For the side characters, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. The extended cast compared to Mass Effect does mark an improvement in one sense. There are more characters. However, more of the characters are massively underwhelming. Take, for instance, Sergeant Sterry, or as he's more known as Jacob Taylor. Or Little Miss No Personality, I'm Too Perfect for It, Miranda Lawson. And to be fair, even one of my preferred characters, Jack, or Subject Zero, is just an edge fest. Let's be fucking honest right now. I mean, they have more characters, and all the characters have due to being more of them, there's more personalities to deal with. It's just not good personalities. So you at least get variety. So, overall, I give it a 7.25 out of 10. It is still an above average game. Again, I'm going to say barely. I think I'm being very generous here. But in my honest opinion, it is the weakest in the original trilogy. The story feels like it was phoned in with paper villains. Again, the collectors just feel like they're there just to be. Saren was a good villain. He was a very stereotypical villain, but he was a good villain. He felt like a threat. The Geth, to an extent, felt like a threat. The collectors don't. The combat is something that I can honestly say was the biggest improvement, quite frankly. With the addition of ammo, it made it a lot more tactical, and with the more reliance on abilities as well, it made it more tactical and it made it more fun. The romance dialogues were also an improvement, but most everything else felt like a downgrade to me, be it from the cast to the enemies. It all just seemed underwhelming compared to the first Mass Effect, and it's kind of sad for me. Now for the replayability. This one I give a big, fat meh. The only time I really play Mass Effect 2 is through a fresh series playthrough when I play through all three of the originals. On its own, I don't think it's worth it. But for playing all the first three original Mass Effects, you kind of need to play the second one. So, the only good thing I could say, it's not completely fucking grindy when you have to play it. But at the same time, it's just, it doesn't really feel that fun to me to play on its own. I mean, on its own. In the entire series, like, okay, cool, there are some interesting aspects. There's improvement on the combat, there's improvement on the dialogue, there are positive things about it. But it's just overall just kind of meh. It's like I said, as much as I hate repeating myself, I feel like in the entire series, yeah, it's fun to play on its own. It doesn't feel, it doesn't make you miserable having to play it. And it doesn't make you feel like you absolutely, like it's a complete grind to go through it. But at the same time, there's nothing really pulling me in to play that one, play Mass Effect 2 on its own compared to 1 or 3. And I kind of feel bad about that because a lot of people say 3 is the weakest, and I think that's only because they let the ending overshadow the rest of the game, and I will talk about that in its own review and going through the game. But I think if we compare them bit by bit by bit, I really do think 2 is the weakest. But with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this game review. If you did, leave a comment. Even if you didn't, if you disagree, leave a comment. Let me know what you think I was wrong about. But if you want to help support the channel, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a like. But the most important thing of all, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!